Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Spooky Sunday video. So in today's video I'm going to be reading your spooky stories again. I haven't done it in such a long time. I have got some on my email if you want to send me a Spooky Sunday story. Here is the email for it. But I do have, I believe, maybe one or two from comments that people have left on my video of stories that I want to read. And there was this one comment that loads of people were commenting on saying that it was crazy and that people should make a film out of it. So hopefully I've still got that on my phone because I'd like to read it to you as well. But without further ado, let's get on into today's video and I hope you all like it. So we're going to start from the email ones, and we do have some S Walker ones in this video, which was so nervous about, and that's my biggest Spooky Sunday video ever. That's the one you all love the most, and I have had a few requests to make another S Walker video, so hopefully this satisfies your needs because I'm going to be reading two stories today about S Walkers. And you know I'm not going to say the full name because it apparently attracts them, although I did have comments in that video saying that it's the native name that attracts them and not this one, but I don't want to risk it because I'm scared. I'm a scaredy cat. So we're going to call them S Walkers or blah blahs. Alright, so this one says, the first S Walker story I heard. God, if I pronounce anything wrong, I'm really sorry. I'm going to try my best. But it says, on the Navajo Reservation, these entities are as real as the air you breathe. A lot of people have stories, it's just a matter of who you ask. My first story is one that I remember asking my mom about years ago on a spooky night. My family has had some of the most chilling experiences involving these entities of the night. This one, of many, stands out. She started out that her cousins had come over one weekend to hang out and the younger kids had tagged along to play with the neighbourhood kids. I'm sorry about my neighbour's dogs, by the way, you know by now, they just annoy me and bark whenever I film a video. While the younger kids played, it was herself, the oldest cousin, and her sister, and like many teenagers, they sat around and talked, and for some reason they started a conversation about their paranormal experiences. After a while, her cousin became uneasy. They asked her what her experience was, and she said that this was something that had happened to her years ago, but just found out not too long ago what was behind it all. Her story begins that one night when she was around 12, her mom had taken herself and her younger siblings to visit their grandma. For obvious reasons, I will not give the location or her name because she still feels that her story will not be believed. Now on the reservation, our elders still lived in hogans. They didn't have electricity nor running water or indoor plumbing. Sometimes most homes didn't have a door, so most people used blankets or long pieces of floorboards to make shift doors, which were basically thrown together and held with balling wire and pieces of rope from hay bales. While they were visiting, her grandma had wanted to visit some relatives that lived maybe a few miles down the road. Their pickup didn't have enough room. Her mother and grandma had asked her to watch over the younger kids. They explained they wouldn't be long, maybe an hour at most. While they're gone, the younger kids played, and as the evening was quickly approaching, she brought the kids inside. At this point, the sun was setting and it was getting cold, so she built a fire to keep herself and the younger kids warm. Since they didn't have electricity, most homes had candles or kerosene lamps for light. By this point, the younger kids had fallen asleep as she waited patiently for them to come home. Soon her grandma's dogs began barking uncontrollably. Thinking they were coming home, she untied the makeshift door and peeked outside. Nothing. No headlights or her mom's pickup. She quickly ties up the door and she sits back down with the kids. She blows it off that maybe the dogs had sniffed out a small animal and they were chasing it. Soon though, she gets hit with this strong smell of death, like a decaying animal that's been out for weeks. She starts to panic, and not long after, the dogs start chasing something around the house. By this point, the dogs are going crazy, barking and running around the house. She begins to sob. Soon this thing somehow manages to climb onto the top of the roof. She can hear its footsteps walking from one corner to the other. Her sobs wake up the kids as they're sitting there in a state of panic. She tries to calm the younger kids down as they hear this thing walking on the roof. Within seconds, they hear the familiar sound of their mom's pickup truck coming. As soon as the headlights break over the hill, the thing on top of the roof stops moving. Soon after, they hear it jump off. As soon as the pickup is outside the house, the kids run out to their mom and grandma crying. Years later, my mom's cousin brings up the incident that happened at their grandma's and asks what happened that night when they finally came home. Her mom sits down and explains that they had lost track of time. As soon as they realised what time it was, they start their drive back home, bringing along their uncle who decided to stay the night with their grandma. She continued that as they were driving up the road, they had noticed something on top of the roof. Wondering what was going on, they sped up. Once they reached the house, she said that they had realised what they were seeing. It was an S Walker, she said, and described to her that its entire body was covered in white paint and it wore a coyote skin on top of its head. As soon as they were close enough, it quickly jumped from the roof and ran up a hill. As they got out, it was gone. Their uncle quickly grabbed an axe and tried to chase it down, but it was gone as soon as he reached the top of the hill. Her cousin explained the only memory that she had after that was seeing a shaman soon after the incident. He explained that it was indeed an S-Walker and that it had planned to drop down the stovepipe, its bad medicine, and kill who was ever in the hogan. This story sent a chill through me and made me realise that these entities are real and shouldn't be taken lightly. So that's the end of the first story. Can you actually imagine? Can you imagine living through that? I literally wouldn't be able to sleep ever again in my whole entire life if that happened to me. No thank you. Oh, S-walkers freak me out. This is why I don't want to take the risk saying the full name, because I will not take any risks, even the smallest, to attract them ever. I can't deal with it. Alright, let's move on to the next story. And it says, an S-walker story that's hard to believe. This is from the same person, by the way, so they've sent me 2 stories. Like I said before, my family has some of the most chilling stories dealing with these entities. Another story that still sends shivers down my spine is this one. My aunt at one point worked for a private company in my hometown in New Mexico for a number of years. It helped people who were homeless or in need of help to get off the streets. As before, I will not be mentioning any names or the exact places. My aunt worked for this company for years. Her position was a driver and she worked as a desk clerk. When the local PD or surrounding hospitals called something unusual, it meant that someone who was intoxicated or homeless or who needed to sober up needed a warm bed. On this night, things took a real terrifying turn. She explained that the local police were called about an unknown person walking around one of the neighbourhoods. The call had come in around 3 a.m. Dispatch had sent out a unit to the area where they found an unknown male walking the nearby foothills. Once they apprehended the suspect, they called the company my aunt worked for and they sent out a van to pick up this person. The driver, who was a close friend of my aunt, told her once they got to the unit in the neighbourhood, he noticed that the officers looked afraid and nervous. Once they exchanged information, one of the officers brought out the individual, and to his horror, once he saw it coming out of the back of the patrol car, he knew that they were picking up an S-walker. Shocked and terrified, the driver led him to the back of the van. His partner confused, he was wondering why the officers and his partner looked spooked. Asking him what was going on, the driver just looked at him and told him, let's hurry back, I don't want to be around this thing for too long. As they opened the back of the van doors, they had picked up a few individuals before they got the call, and as soon as they saw what was coming in, all of them moved to one side of the van. Once back to the facility, my aunt and her friend were at the desk talking and laughing, but their mood changed once they saw what was walking through the door. My aunt, a traditional Navajo, was terrified and didn't want to be around this thing, so begging her friend to handle the check-in while she excused herself to another part of the building. Knowing that she had to present that she calmed herself and went back to the front at this point, she said their protocol states that they need every person that comes in to check their belongings. As every person checked in their belongings, the only person who didn't was the S-walker. Not really sure what to do, only too brave enough to check them in. The two said that he smelled of death, like that of a rotting animal. His hair was long, which concealed his face. As they searched his pockets, they began pulling out small pieces of bone, strands of hair, fingernails, and cigarette butts. By this point, the two men were scared. It also wore a small leather pouch around its neck, which they refused to look at. Not wanting to keep him there because of reasons of Navajo beliefs, the staff all agreed to let him go. As he walked out, they locked all the doors and did not venture outside until morning. As the staff let everyone out, the people that stayed the night all claimed that they heard taps on the windows and eerie whispers throughout the night. Everyone all chalked it up to overactive imagination, but if the people that worked that night are still there and you ask them, they may just tell you. So, I just want to apologise in case I have mispronounced the word Navajo. I'm trying my best to pronounce everything, but I actually feel a little bit sick after reading them, and that's freaking me out because I do not want to attract any bad energy. I do not claim any bad energy from these stories, please and thank you. I think I kind of know that they can morph into people, but I didn't know you could like get up close and personal with them, check them in places. Like, oh my god, that's actually makes them even more scarier, knowing that they can get that close and personal with you and then it tormented the people throughout the night. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. This is why I get really spooked out doing these videos. I hope you all appreciate me reading these stories about the spooky, scary S-walkers. So we have another story, and this is from Riverdale Anime Cosplay, and it's a very short one, and it says, "Hi Khlo, here's my spooky story for your Spooky Sunday videos. So in year 6, I went to Scotland for a week with my school at this adventure park. Me and 2 other girls were sat in our room when suddenly we heard a knock on our door. One of the girls went to open it. A few other girls came and said that a girl had found her dad's wallet in the middle of her room that was missing for years, but she didn't know how it got there as she never packed the wallet." This is creepy, but I kind of feel like this could be a glitch in the simulation. If you haven't watched my glitch in the simulation / matrix video, you should definitely go and watch that. But I kind of feel like this could be linked to that. because people kind of find random things that shouldn't be there, or have two of one thing, or have unexplained or unexplainable situations happen to them, and I feel like this could be a glitch in the simulation. I mean, if the wallet went missing a day before she went on the trip, okay, maybe she packed it by accident, but years later, definitely a glitch in the simulation. I am sorry. But I'm gonna try now and look through my photos and find that comment of the story that I found on my YouTube video that people really liked, and I will read that for you next. Okay, so I can't find that specific story, but I have found two comments that are story times about S-walkers, so I will read them for you instead. This one's a little bit shorter, the second one is kind of long, so we'll start with the shorter one. Their account is just called A Dog, and it says story time. So one time in 1995 or 1996, I was born in 1995. That's pretty cool. My cousins were camping at our uncle's house in the Nevada desert. The house was too small for all of us, and we usually got the trailer, but just our luck, we got stuck in the tent. Fast forward like 2 hours and it was bedtime, but we just made a joke about, I'm not gonna say the word because you're trying to catch me out. It is another word for S-walkers, and I'm not gonna say it because I read all your comments and I know that that's another word for them. So they were joking about them anyway. And my cousin said, have you heard of S-walkers? After he said it, we heard screams or roars from what must have been miles away. But he said to get our stuff and run to the house. We told our parents and they said it's just your imagination, but we were recording with our cassette video player. It was cool back then. I love that. We showed them the recording and our grandpa piped in and said, the further away they sound, the closer they are. We slept in the house on the ground. We went outside in the morning and found the tent basically torn apart. My uncle then moved out and we never went back to the desert again. What? I've seen so many comments on my video from all of you saying the further away they are, no, the further away they sound, the closer they are. I can't tell you how many comments I've seen about that, so that's food for thought, that apparently the further away they sound, the closer they are. But imagine if you'd stayed in that tent, like whatever it was attacked that tent thinking you were still in it. I don't like it. But thank you for your story. Moving on to the last story is very long. I apologise in advance, but it's interesting. And again, it's about S-walkers. So let's get into the last one. This is from the account called Snowflower, and it says, okay, I'm like actually gonna cry right now. I personally don't believe in S-walkers, but today something really weird happened to me, and now I think I'm gonna believe in them. So I was in my neighbourhood walking my dog, and we came across these two piles of animal fur on the side of the road, but I didn't think much of it, so we just kept walking. Then, out of nowhere, there was an intense smell of flowers, but there were no flowers or honeysuckles or anything near me, so I was confused as to where it was coming from, but I just kept walking. Then me and my dog made it to the end of the road, so we turned around and started walking back home. The path that we were walking on was surrounded by dense trees on either side. My dog decided to stop and sniff some grass. Then all of a sudden I started to feel really unsettled about the woods, and I got this really creepy feeling inside of me. Then I heard someone say, "Hey," in a little girl's voice. She then said it in a whisper voice, but it was really loud at the time, and it was as if I was the only one who could hear it, and I knew it came from the woods. My dog literally barks at everything, but when I heard this voice, my dog didn't even flinch, so it was as if I was the only one who heard it. So I started sweating really bad and panicking, and then I pulled on my dog's leash, and we started to walk again. And then about 10 steps later, I looked to my left and saw, about 12 feet away from me, a deer staring at me, laying on the ground. And once again, the woods were really dense, but in this one spot I was standing in, there was a clear path to the deer. It was as if it wanted me to walk up to it, but I didn't because I had my dog with me, so I kept walking. Then, in the exact same spot that I had recently smelt that really good flower smell, it all of a sudden smelt like death. And then me and my dog finished our walk home. I don't know if this has anything to do with S-walkers. I don't live in Utah or New Mexico. I live in Tennessee. I'm literally terrified. I don't believe in S-walkers, but like, what the fuck happened to me? Am I hallucinating? I'm literally so scared. If anyone has any answers, please help me. And the scariest thing about this whole story is that my older sister just got back from a missionary trip in New Mexico where she worked with the Navajo tribe. Do you think she brought a spirit back with her or something? So yeah, I have seen that apparently they're more common in New Mexico or Utah, but I have also seen stories of people seeing them all around the world, so I'm not 100% sure if it's impossible for them to be in other parts of the world, or if it is just Utah or Tennessee, or not Tennessee, Utah or New Mexico, or maybe people can bring them from there. I'm not 100% sure, but that is terrifying. I have this thing, like, I love woods. I think they're just really peaceful, but at the same time they freak me out because so many things can hide in a woods. And the thought of a deer just laying on the ground staring at you, like, it would be it would be awful if it was stood up staring at you, but the fact it was laid down staring at you just creeps me out so much. I wish I had the answers for you, but hopefully someone in this video might have answers for you, and if you do, please drop them in the comments down below and help a girl out. I'm sorry if the camera angle changed, my battery died, but what I was saying was that is the end of today's video. I really hope you liked it. If you did, please remember to smash a massive thumbs up, remember to subscribe, and thank you to everybody that sent me your spooky stories to read today. I love reading them. If you want to send me them, remember this is the email to send them to, and until next time, I will see you all soon. Peace.